Entry-level premium to luxury sports cars or enthusiast cars. It's a fun segment. It's a shrinking segment, but it is a fun segment. One of the ones that's kind of been a great choice in the segment for a while belongs in the Audi family with the number 3 appended to it. For 2025, Audi is introducing an updated version of the S3, which is the car I am in now. And it does fine on daily driver situations like this, where I'm just kind of tootling along Old Town Front Street in Temecula,
turn left.
California. It does better out here on the curvy roads. This is where the fun happens. This is why you buy the S3. Don't be fooled into thinking this is an RS3. That is a different animal. It's got the 5-cylinder engine. It's got the more chassis refinement and other things. However, this is taking important bits from the RS3 to make it a better S3. And one of the most important ones of those is the torque splitter. So out back, we have the RS3's torque splitter, and it's not just a version of it, a derived version of it, a toned down, it's the RS3 torque splitter. And what that means is of the available torque, it can send 100% of that available rear torque to either wheel to overdrive that wheel to get you through a turn quicker and even excite the car into more sportingly dynamic situations. It's also good for stability in loss of traction events where it can pull an inside wheel if it senses you've lost traction incorrectly and straighten the car back out. So it's actually really smart in that it's good for keeping things in control and keeping things on the edge of control in a manner in which you want them to do so. So under the hood of this one, we have a version of the engine found in the A3. It's the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Instead of making 201 horsepower like the A3, it makes 328 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. And those are good numbers for a vehicle in this segment. Once you add in that torque-splitting rear end, fun happens without spending RS3 dollars. That's a very good thing. That is keeping the somewhat attainable, more attainable than other options. I'm using relative terms here because it's still not cheap, but relative to the market, it's priced really nicely, especially against its competition. This thing starts before destination. It's at $48,700, so it's right at $50,000. Then there's like a $54,000 trim and a $55,000 or $56,000 trim, but all of them get the torque splitter, so don't worry about that. You can upgrade to an S Sport package, which gets you adaptive damping suspension and red brake calipers. This car doesn't have them because I specifically wanted to drive the non-adaptively damped car, and it's great. So I'm happy to report that you don't need to spend the extra money. And even the base cars are nicely equipped. You just don't get like a Sonos sound system, and then the top spec has a head-up display, which I did say is nice to have. So there's all kinds of good things in those other trims, but you don't need to spend them to have a very nice car.
Half a mile, turn left.
Shut the fuck up! Right off the Audi dealer showroom lot. So this competes against cars like, per Audi, the M235, the CLA, 35? Yeah, it must be 35, and then an Acura Integra Type S. They're considering that a competitor, even though that is front-wheel drive. And I get it because it's in that premium, entry-level, sporty car segment. So I totally get it. This has more power. This is quicker to 60. It's like 4.4, and it starts less. So those are all wins. Slow down the action for a minute. I'm going to step out of the car because I want to point out a few things design-wise. We're doing this handheld. Yeah, we're going low budget. It's all low budget, but we're going extra low budget. So let's take a look at the car. I think they did a good job on the styling of this thing, and I'm going to cut to nicer automaker-provided B-roll, but I wanted to point out these wheels are the 19-inch S wheels. So these you will see on all S, available as an option or just fitted. It's like an S signature item, these S wheels. This car has very cool signature lighting elements. You can change these to display differently. I think they did a really good job refining the grille, and I like the lower fascia treatment both in the front and the rear. I also like this shoulder line is nice and solid. The black roof is an option. This color I think is called Python Metallic, which is kind of cool. And then this lower accent piece here is really well done without overdoing it. Coming around to the back, you know, nice tiny little duck lid, but you get quad exhaust outlets. Let's get that, see that better, change the light a little bit. Quad exhaust outlets, a nice, you know, little diffuser flourish, and then these cool upright vents, which are a nod to the RS model. So all told, really good job on the styling of this car. Now the RS3 takes it up a notch by punching out those fender flares for an even tougher look, and that's kind of what you want when you rise the ladder. So this and the A3 look very similar, but you'll be able to tell them apart. And then RS3 stands apart that much more. It should, because it's probably going to cost $10,000 to $15,000 more. Let's get back in the car. All right, let's hit it. Leaving the gearbox alone, it shifts really nicely. In fact, Audi says it actually shifts 50% quicker than the outgoing version of this car, which is always nice to hear. The throttle response is improved. The chassis tweaks add up to just a better dynamic package per Audi, and I'm feeling it. But the real, game changer is that torque splitter, which it's not a rear biased car, but it almost makes it feel rear biased. I think only up to 50% of the total torque can go out back, but of that 50%, 100% can go either left or right as needed. And it's not just 0 or 100, obviously. It meters. It moves, adjusts on its own, and it'll do it without being in Dynamic Plus, but in Dynamic Plus, you're telling it, hey, be more proactively sporty. Another thing I like is just using the paddles, you can feel that this does shift quickly. It does rip off the shifts nicely. But then just cruising around in normal mode, when you back everything down out of the sportiest modes, it drives nice. It's pleasant to drive. And this isn't the adaptively damped one, so I'm sure that one could be potentially more comfortable. But I'm quite comfortable in just this standard steel sprung version. This is a nimble little machine. It's a joy to drive, and honestly, it actually just makes me excited for the RS3. The RS3 has always been this little pocket rocket that punches far above its own weight class in a wonderful way. This S3 is just the nice, I don't want to say compromise because it's not a compromise, but it's a value for money. It's a wonderful choice. And then if you buy an A3, you could think aspirationally, like, I just need to save $10,000 and I can, or maybe a little more, depending on which trim you want. Ooh, 944. So I think Audi's done a really good job refining this car. And as I said, fantastic machine, just gets me even more excited for the RS3. And if you buy an A3, just take the badge off. No, don't be ashamed of your A3. Out here.